So now my slides are visible, and am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So sorry for the interruption. Okay. So celiac disease. So celiac means what? It is related to the gut thing. Uh, Related to the abdomen thing. So celiac disease is a chronic one and an immune mediated inflammatory disease. It means it is mediated by our own immune system, or you can say this is an autoimmune disorder when your immunity consider your own cell as a non-self, so it will start producing responses towards it. So this type of disease is known as autoimmune disorders. So you can see the celiac disease, how it looks like. So when we have linings in the small intestine, that is known as the villi. We know that the function of villi is to increase the surface area for absorption of food. These are like this finger like projection. We always study in our NCRT book the finger like projection, which are known as villi. So these are for the, they increase the surface area which is required for the more food, so that more food can be absorbed easily. So you can see this is the normal structure of the villi. In the right hand side you can see finger like projection, and in this one you can see the diseased villi. So if your villi is not functioning properly, and in this you can see the altered morphology of the villi or the anatomy of the villi, both the morphology as well as anatomy change in the celiac disease patients. If you are having the normal villi, then you can have a normal absorption phenomenon of our food. Whenever you will eat anything, it will be absorbed properly. But when there is a damaged villi, or you are having the celiac disease, then your villi are damaged. You can see here the structure, how uh, there is a lot differences in the normal finger like projection and this one. So studies suggest that alteration in the gut microbiota composition may contribute to the development and or progression of the celiac disease. So this is an ultimately the consequence, you can say consequence of what? Dysbiosis. If you are having dysbiosis, then you can say that you can have celiac disease at some point of time. So it will lead to changes in the intestinal metabolic profile, including the alteration in SCFA production, and this has been reported in patients with celiac disease. It means all these things are not only just theoretically, but also it has been proven that if you are a patient with celiac disease, you will have the altered short chain fatty acid production in your body. You will have an altered intestinal metabolic profile. Like I have mentioned this, that how our dysbiosis may lead to different kind of diseases. This point, this four, metabolic alteration, like the altered short chain fatty acid production, or they can also produce the inflammatory molecule. So you can say that the celiac disease patients have an altered metabolic profile of what region? The gut. Then if the gut is impaired, then you can expect the alteration in the short chain fatty acid production. And it has been reported that Klebsiella oxytoca, Staphylococcus epidermidis, and Staphylococcus pasteurii are more abundant in duodenal biopsy specimen from patients with actic celiac disease than in specimen from healthy individuals. So you can write it down: in celiac disease whose population is increased, Klebsiella oxytoca, and these different species of Staphylococcus, particularly Staphylococcus epidermidis and Staphylococcus pasteurii. So you can expect that if an individual is having celiac disease, the composition or the abundance of which bacteria? These three bacteria will be there. Now, in contrast, Streptococcus aeruginosus and Streptococcus mutans are less abundant in patients with celiac disease than in healthy individual, regardless of the inflammation status. It has also been observed and reported through how it is reported. through biopsy study. Biopsy study, it is reported. I've written the wrong spelling. Biopsy. Through biopsy, it is cleared that which type of microorganisms are associated with the celiac disease patient, villi, and the normal healthy individual. So you can expect the increase in Klebsiella and Staphylococcus, and a decrease in the Streptococcus and Streptococcus anginos, different species of Streptococcus. So you can see this is the part of our small intestine. Villi is the part of small intestine. They increase the surface area, which is required for the proper absorption of whatever we are eating. The nutrients are absorbed with the help of the villi. So in celiac disease, that villi has some altered morphology and therefore anatomy, and therefore it will no longer maintain the normal intestinal metabolic profile, and there may be alteration in the short chain fatty acid production. So you can see the celiac disease is normally known as the gluten sensitive enteropathy, which is an autoimmune inflammatory condition triggered by an immune mediated response to dietary gluten, which is a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. So people are unable to digest the normal dietary gluten. And if we talk about the normal Indian diet, wheat, barley, rye, all are very staple food of our country. So there is an when you are having celiac disease, you will not be able to tolerate this gluten, which is a protein found in all these cereals. Now the response causes damage to the small intestinal mucosa, leading to villus atrophy. It means altered morphology. Gastrointestinal symptoms, malabsorption. It means if your villi is not functioning properly, then of course the absorption will be altered, no absorption will take place, and also different kind of extra intestinal manifestations. Common symptoms will include what? Diarrhea, constipation, bloating, abdominal discomfort, and different extraintestinal signs may include anemia, osteoporosis, and fatigue. Always you will feel tired because you are not producing enough amount of metabolic products which are required for the normal functioning of your body. You will feel lethargic, you will feel fatigue because no energy is released, because the pathway which release energy is the beta oxidation of fatty acid. That is not taking place. So you will always feel tired, burnout, and you will always want to rest, and you will not be able to do your normal routine activities like reading, walking, and playing. You will not be able to do the normal thing. So when this will take place? When an autoimmune inflammatory condition will occur. So you have to remember that this CD is an AID. CD is an AID. It means not CID, AID. It is CD. Celiac disease is autoimmune disease. It will be triggered when your own immune system will consider your own cell as a non-cell and start reacting towards it. So this is known as the celiac disease. So this is, and also the histopathology of a diseased patient and a celiac disease patient. So you can see this is an healthy individual villi, microvilli. So you can see normal finger-like projection this way. You can see normal finger-like projection. But here you can say the atrophy of the, you can see there is no pointed tips, and if you will map the overall anatomical cells inside the villi, that will also show alteration. So you can see there is a visible difference in between the villi of the healthy individual and the celiac disease individual. So this is the salient feature or the recognizing feature of the celiac disease patient, that they will not have the normal morphology and anatomy of the villi, which is in part of the small intestine, which is responsible for the increase in surface area, which is required for the absorption of nutrient which we take in our diet. So this you can see the altered morphology, or you can say the villi atrophy occurs whenever your own body will react against your cell. So these are the cause of the celiac disease. So we will discuss this in tomorrow's class, but in detail. But I will let you know that celiac disease can occur due to genes. Which genes? In literature or in different publications, it has been mentioned that HLA-DQ2 and HLA-DQ8 are the genes which are known to be associated with the celiac disease. Now, whenever you are consuming a gluten-rich diet, then you can expect celiac disease. Whenever there is an environmental factor which will lead to what? Which will lead to dysbiosis, then also you can expect the celiac disease. And these genes are also the responsible for the celiac disease. So the etiology of celiac disease is multifactorial because environmental factors also play a role, diet factor is also playing a role, and the genes are also playing the role. Like it is a combination of genetic, environmental, and immunological factors. Now the primary genetic predisposition is associated with the specific human leukocyte antigen, that is the class 2 genes, particularly this one, DQ2 and DQ8, which are found in nearly all individuals with celiac disease. So this has been published by several scientists that these two genes are responsible or are traced in the patients with celiac disease. In their genomes, it has been observed that they are having DQ2 and DQ8 genes. However, genetics alone does not cause the condition, as many people with these genes never develop celiac disease. Now see, the presence of any kind of gene does not guarantee that that person will show symptom of that disease or it will be affected individual. No, all it depends on whether this gene is activated or not, and it will activated under several circumstances, that is known as the factors which will lead to the activation of this gene or alteration of the normal mechanism of this gene will lead to the symptom or the diseased one. So this, you cannot say that if I am having this DQ2 and DQ8, then I will be 100% suffering from celiac disease. No, because it depends on whether your genes are active or not, because in our body, as you all know, there are so many non-coding genes, it is present. So if this gene is present, you can say that it can only be activated if you will provide some conditions which are responsible for it to uh, react your body, and it will start the symptoms of celiac disease. So the essential environment trigger for celiac disease is dietary gluten. You can write this word. Celiac disease is known to have is known for the gluten intolerance, which is a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye, which induces a dysregulated immune response. If a people with celiac disease is consuming any food item rich in gluten like wheat, barley, and rye, then it will have a dysregulated immune response, and gluten is always broken down into smaller peptides such as gliadin, which are further deamidated by the enzyme. Which enzyme? This transglutaminase 2, glutaminase 2, that is TG2. So this modification enhances their binding affinity to HLA. Now see, whenever there is a person with these genes, DQ2 and DQ8, and it is consuming this gluten-rich food, suppose it is consuming chapati, bread made up of wheat. So what it will do? Your gluten will be broken down into smaller peptide, that gliadin, and then it will be deaminated by this enzyme. And this modification, if your this product is deaminated by this enzyme, it will have an increased chances of its binding to this one. It will show increased affinity. Affinity means it will uh, readily bind to these DQ2 and DQ8. So it will trigger to T cell activation and an inflammatory response. So this slide shows that uh, despite you are having this DQ2 and DQ8, it is not at all sure that you will be having celiac disease. When it you can expect celiac disease when you are eating gluten-free diet and you are activating your DQ8 cell. You are increasing the affinity of this gliadin to bind to the DQ2 and DQ8, and then after the binding, T cell will be activated because they will show the immunological response, inflammatory response that will lead to small intestine enteropathy, and your villi will be damaged. The morphology of this will be damaged. So this is all for today. We'll continue IBS tomorrow.